Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. And it's hot outside, noisy inside. I got the laser running behind me. I've got the exhaust on, the air assist on. Lots of noise in here today. You're going to have to excuse that. I have something exciting to show you today. And today I'm going to break one of my golden rules. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but the people that know me are going to know what that rule is when I break it. Today we're going to be reviewing the new Atezr 24 watt 46 watt diode laser. And this is the most powerful laser on the market today. There are some 20 and I believe X-Tool is 22 watts. This is 24 watts, the most powerful laser on the market. So I'm not going to take a whole lot of time with an intro here. We're just going to jump straight into it. This is a no fluff review. If you're here for entertainment, you're in the wrong place. Back up and search again. We're going to be talking about how this machine performs start to finish from the time I open the box until the time this burn behind me is finished. And I've done a lot of testing on this machine. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's get started. Alright, so one thing I never do are assembly videos because there are so many of them out there, and Atezr has a playlist to assemble this that is absolutely fantastic. This is how the box comes. This is the biggest and heaviest laser box that I've ever gotten for a diode laser. So be prepared for that. It's kind of heavy. Everything is well packaged. You can see in here all the parts. They're all completely secured in the package. And this is, typically what you're going to expect from any diode laser. It looks like there are a lot of parts here, but there really aren't. You've got your 4 pieces of C-channel for your frame and your gantry, and that's it. And that's all there really is. And if you take a look at the C-channel on this, it's reinforced with these indents on it. So it's a heavier C-channel than you're going to find in the other machines out there. This is more of a commercial type machine. If you're in a commercial business and you want something that's going to meet the needs of a commercial user, this is probably going to be the laser for you. The assembly is very simple. All of the aluminum parts fit together perfectly. The gantry fits together perfectly. You'll notice that over here you've got linear rails on the Y-axis with the hard rubber wheels inside that are permanently fixed, so there are no eccentric nuts in here to deal with. This is also a linear fixed rail. It does have an eccentric nut on the X on the gantry. That is the only one that you need to adjust on this machine. Very simple. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Just a few screws, you put it all together. No dealing with belts and typical assembly. Up here you've got the air assist right here. You got the 24 watt laser module. This is a beefy power supply that it comes with. Both the air assist and the control board both run off of the same power supply, so you're not plug hogging with this machine. So that's a nice feature as well. So the setup is just very, very basic. If you follow their playlist, they have a wonderful playlist that they set up. I'll put a link to it down below. Click on Show More underneath the video, and there'll be all the links down there where you can, buy this machine, see the setup video on the machine, and even more. Click on Show More below the video, what used to be called the description on YouTube videos, and you'll see all those links down there for this machine. Okay, so you can see I've got the Atezr 20 watt in my CO2 right now for smoke extraction, and this is going to be the first power on. So I've just finished the assembly. I'm going to turn on, I'm guessing it's just pressing this power button right here, and that sure did turn it on. And you can see that the touchpad here is booting up, and looks like it's in Chinese. Not quite sure how to change that. Okay, so that's probably going to be a problem. Let's see. English, there we go. So we're going to hit that English button there and go back. Touchpad is a little hard to... Alright, so there we go. Now we've got English settings on here. And I don't have the TF card in here, so there's no files on it. I'll try it and see how it works, and we'll go from there. But the next thing I've got to do is find the network cable, and I will go ahead and plug this in. And I just heard my computer recognize it, and we are ready for the first tests. Oh, and this is the air assist over here. So when I turn this on, there's an awful lot of air coming out of there. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's high volume air, and it does have a variable resistor on it, so you can set the air for whatever you like. I'm just going to turn it off for right now, and I'm going to jump over into Lightburn and see if my computer recognizes it. Now I know you can't see this on the screen right now, but I have added it. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And yes, it does, right off the bat. So that makes me feel good. And the machine has homed. If I come back over here, so I'm all set to go. I'm ready to run some tests on this already. Not a single issue putting this together. That was the first run in Lightburn that I just did. When I selected the laser from the list, it homed perfectly, and just smooth as can be. All right, so I've got the Atezr on, as you can hear in the background. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test the bed size on this. So we're going to take a rectangle here. I'm going to come up here to the top, and if we come in here, you can see that the size is 430 by 430. So that's what Atezr is telling me that the size of this laser is. So let's go ahead and set that. Let's do 430, tab, 430, enter, and now we have a 430 by 430. So I'll select that, send it directly to the middle right there. And if you don't see these tools up here, just right click on the white space here, come down here, uncheck arrange, and check off arrange long, and then you'll have all these extra tools up here. So now I've gone ahead and sent that to the middle, and what I'm going to do is let me come into the console and let's take a look at the settings real quick. And this is the first thing that, I guess this is a downfall. 6,000 millimeters per minute is the maximum travel rate on the X and the Y. So we're going to be limited to 6,000 millimeters per minute on this machine. So let me come to the move tab, change it to 6,000, the speed. And we're going to come over here to the laser tab, and we're going to do a frame. But before we do that, let me bring out my camera over here so that we can see this in live time. And let's come over here and hit the frame button. Now this is a test that I'm doing because not every laser can work the entire capacity of the area that the company is telling you that it can, and we found that out with a couple of lasers already. So I'm going to hit frame and see what happens on this one. Just keep my fingers crossed that it is exactly what they say, and that looks good on the X, good on the Y so far, good on the other Y. Okay, so it is in fact the size that the company states that it is. We don't need this anymore. We can just go ahead and delete this and start running some tests on this machine. All right, real quickly, I'm going to go over how I changed the settings on this machine. And if we come up here to edit, down here to machine settings, your machine needs to be connected. It's going to look like this when you open it up. And what you're going to do is click on this right arrow so that it expands. And you're going to come down here and you're going to look for this right here, X max rate. And you can set this to whatever you want. The factory set it to 6,000 to be safe. I've set it to 24,000. It can go as high as 24,800. I would suggest that you set this to 24,000. I've already tested this on a large file. I did an 8x12 photograph. Works just perfectly in both directions. So down here you also have the $1.11. So you have $1.10 up here, $1.11. You don't want to keep typing them in the console, so just put in here 24,000 in this box right here. When you're done, you're just going to go ahead and write that. Click on write to write it to the controller, and then say OK, and you're done there. The only other settings that I changed in here was I changed my fast white space scan to 15,000 millimeters per minute. And the reason why I put this one a lot lower, and you might want to go anywhere from 10 to 15,000, is because the laser may be traveling between small text at times. So you don't want to use your maximum speed in there. 10,000 is a good number. I put it at 15,000. I typically don't do tiny little text. So that white space scan is the time where it jogs between two items back and forth when it's not burning. I've also enabled the laser fire button here. I've enabled the laser on when framing. And I've set my return to finish position to the center on the X, 215, and almost up to the top, 425 on the Y. And this way, when the job finishes, it'll move out of my way and up. If you want to get advanced, you can enable some of these scanning offsets and run some scan offset tests and come in here and adjust your line shifts in here. But I'm not going to cover that today. I've also enabled the job checklist here, and all you have to do is tick this on. Click edit and type whatever reminders you want before the job starts. So when you hit the start button, you'll get a pop-up window that asks you, is your laser on, and all these questions, whatever questions you want. And that's it, quick and easy. Those are the changes that I have made to this machine. Now let's talk about the cutting ability. And if you know me, or if you've watched a lot of my videos, you'll know that I always say that this diode lasers are engravers, they're not cutters. But they do cut hobby wood. So I decided to get some, I have a piece of Baltic birch. It is 4.5 millimeter, and I ran a test on it. This is what I came up with. It did a fine job at 60 power and 350 speed. It did a fine job at 500 power and 100 speed. Now again, 4.5 millimeter Baltic birch, and actually I think it was 4.72 was the actual measurement on it. So I decided to run it on my typical hobby wood, and I got out some white birch that was 3 millimeter. It was 3.11 millimeters. It's white birch. I know it looks the same, but they're not. They're different. And I found that at 30% power, if you're one of those people that doesn't like to use a lot of power, you can cut this 3 millimeter at 30% power and 350 speed. Or you can cut it at 70% power and 800 speed. Now, looking here, I don't know quite what happened in here, because this should be a diagonal straight up like that. But I guess there are some anomalies in the actual wood. Could be the glue, could be anything. And now here you see the two of them, one on top of the other. Behind us is the Baltic birch, and in the front here is the white birch. And you can see the difference in the cutting speed. What I decided to do next was I decided to get out something that nothing has ever been able to cut cleanly, not a single one of my diode lasers. And that is the famous Dollar Tree cutting board. And this is my Dollar Tree cutting board test. It's 8.75 millimeter bamboo wood, and I have never found a diode laser that would cut it cleanly. Now, it did leave a char on it, but it cut it cleanly. So perfectly straight up and down cut all the way around, and it is blackened, like I said. You could wipe that off with a wet cloth and it comes out nice. Now this one I did at 600 speed. First I tried it at a lower speed and it did burn the wood. So I increased the speed up to 600 speed, 80% power, 5 passes, cut cleanly through 8.75 millimeter wood. So then I decided that, and like I said, I'm not a big fan of cutting with a diode laser. I use my CO2 for that. But I decided that I make a lot of picture frames, so I mill down my frames. This is a Western cedar piece of wood that I milled down into a picture frame. As you can see, there's the angle in the front and the joint in the back. And I wound up cutting through this at 600 speed. Now I tried it slow first, no good because it was burning. And I noticed that it burns hotter up here. So that was a no-go, even though I ran the whole 5 passes. Then I ran it at 600 speed, 100 power, 10 passes, and this is what it cut out. It did char quite a bit, and it did curve just a little bit at the bottom, but not a whole lot. It did cut through this Western cedar. If you look here, you can see that it is holding it off of the ground. I've got it tight, 20.43 millimeters, and it did cut all the way through. It did have a slight bend on the bottom there, where it wasn't perfectly straight up and down, but this did cut 20.43 millimeter wood. So for you people that are out there that are saying how much can it cut, this thing can cut. I can tell you that with the other brand that I've got, the 20 watt, really famous one, I cannot cut through this wood cleanly without it catching fire at this speed and this power. I did some comparison tests. I'm not going to put those tests up side by side here because this video is all about the Atezr machine. There you go. If you need it to cut, it will cut. It does an extremely good job between 3 millimeters and 8 millimeters. Really good job on that wood. And if you're an extreme person and you need to cut 15 millimeter wood, it can be done when you get the right speed and power. All right, let's talk about photo ability. So if you've been watching my reviews, you know that I love doing this photo of a poster of The Legend of the Blues. And here it is right here, 18,000 millimeters per minute, a 250 LPI. The line cut out, well, that doesn't really matter. You saw the cut test. Now this is 7.5 inches by 9 inches, and it took 38 38 minutes to run this job, start to finish. You can read all of the names on the bottom. It did a nice job. I could have probably run this one a little bit slower or a little bit hotter. I ran this at 80% power. No, I'm sorry, 90% power. I ran this at 90% power. If I ran it at 100, it would probably be perfect. So high-speed photo engraving is a big plus. And I do this Legend of the Blues on all of my laser reviews now because it's such a nice photograph. And the detail in this came out incredibly good. Now the next thing that I did was vector graphics. So I did a bunch of these little vector graphics on here, and there are some little anomalies in here in the wood here, and the reason for that is because they coincide with a burn on the other side where it went completely through the wood, because I did this side with my stain test here and this side with my actual vector graphics. So now if you look at the detail that's in here, let's take a look at this bird down here in the middle. So look at that bird down there in the middle. What a beautiful, beautiful detail it does on the vector graphics. And again, remember that I'm just using factory defaults on this. Okay, I have not adjusted the one eccentric nut yet, which would make this even better. I have not changed, and now I've tweaked some of the libraries. Okay, but these were done with the factory settings. So if you take a look at the wolf over here, you can see just how beautiful that wolf came out. Forget about the fact that it burned through the other side because I used both sides of this wood. But all of these graphics, all of these vectors came out really, really superb. So, and of course, I have my little Stewie down here on the right, which I love to do on all of my reviews. And that's probably the best Stewie that I think I've ever gotten. So surprisingly, typically diode lasers, the less power, if you get down to like a 1.5 watt optical output, that's going to be your best engraver right there. And then, of course, the 3 watt, the 5.5 watt, those are all going to engrave super fine. This one engraved on par with the 5 watt diode laser. So it did a fantastic job on engraving, did a great job on cutting. You know, I just have to say that this is one of the best diode lasers that I've tested. Now, I made a discovery while using this laser that really shocked me, and I'm giving this one a name. I'm calling this the Hobby Guy Wood Stain, or the Hobby Guy Stain for short. And look what happened here when I was running some of my tests. I ran at 24,000 millimeters per minute, 80% power, just ran a rectangle, and look what I got. I changed. Now, this is basswood that I've got right here. Behind it over here is some white birch. But look what happened to the wood. I mean, this is incredible. And it changed it into a beautiful, I don't know, oak or something like that. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, take a look at this. So I decided, well, let me run some more tests. So I ran it at 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10 power at 24,000 millimeters per minute. But I want you to look at this 24,050. Take a look at that. Look how beautiful that came out, where you can actually resurface the wood. Now, this one has, at 24,050, nothing, no feel to it at all. There's no depth to it at all. But the text stands out really well on here. So I could resurface this basswood. Let's say I was putting it into a picture frame. Resurface the entire piece of basswood at this speed and this power, and then do my engravings on top of it, put it into a picture frame. Nobody would know that this is a piece of basswood. Really incredible discovery, and you know, I love the way this turned out. I just had to share that one as a separate video because it's something that I've never seen anyone do before, resurface and change the wood. And look at how this came out. I mean, it does a beautiful job resurfacing the wood. And, you know, you can take a 10-cent piece of basswood and turn it into a $5 piece of oak just by running the machine at this speed and this power. So give this a try on your machine. Run it at the maximum speed. This one did an excellent job. All right, so let's talk about the tests on this. Let's start off. This is the line test, and this is where you check your eccentric nuts. So as you can see by this graphic up top here, now keep in mind this is a very small piece of wood. This is a 3-inch by 3-inch piece of wood. These are very small graphics, but you can see here that here, all the way down, and over here, there's a little jogging on the X. Keep in mind the only eccentric nut on this machine is on the gantry, the X axis. The Y axes are linear rails. They do not have eccentric nuts. So that's a good thing. But you can see that the circle is pretty perfect. The squares are perfect. And all of the points where they meet are absolutely perfect. Here's from corner, 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 all the way down, top to bottom. Here you can see the line collision here in the center. Over here you can see the up and down. Over here is the pure circles, and again here's where you can really see and identify that it's the X, because you've got the wobble here, 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 only here, which is the X travel, and then of course this is a pure X travel down here, and you can see the wobble pretty clearly as it moves. Keep in mind these are 0.5 millimeter line spacing. This is something that I designed, so it's not perfect. You'll see that big space there, and I'm going to move on to a better picture in a second, but let's move on to the next one. So again, here's where you can see that X problem, just a matter of a quick adjustment with the eccentric nut on the gantry. And you can see these came out near perfect. This is factory setup, and again you can see the little wobble right here, here and there. And these are real. This is really zoomed in now. 0.5 millimeter line spacing is these right here, Well, actually, it's probably only these couple. You see this big white space here and here, here, here. That's where I was just duplicating, I guess, the 3 or 4 lines that I did originally that I didn't probably place in the right spot. But I have to redo this and change my grid so that I get them all perfect for the, future videos. But you can see right here, you can see the wobble just a little bit, keeping in mind that this is 10 millimeters across. So this is a very, very tiny graphic here. And that's about it on the line test. It did a very, very good job. I didn't want to adjust the eccentric nut. I wanted to run this straight out of the box. Straight out of the box, you will never notice any of this stuff because most of the graphics you're going to be doing are going to be this size or larger. These are very small graphics. You're looking at 10 millimeters across in either direction. So you're not really going to notice those straight out of the box. But I will, now that I'm done with all of the testing, I'll go back and I'll adjust the eccentric nut and I'll make that X perfect. I did want to show you one cool feature about this machine. And I guess I don't like the fact that all of these things, the card, the SD card, the network cable, the power cable, all on top, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't really bother me much. But over here you've got this e-stop, and it's unlike the e-stops on a lot of the other machines that you see that are cheap plastic, and it's like, hey, if I'm have an emergency and I hit that button, I'm afraid that thing is going to break. It's just cheap plastic. This one is not. If you take a look at it, this one is metal. This one is aluminum. It's an aluminum e-stop. And watch what happens when I play this video. You see these arrows? They're lit up and they're flashing when you press the button. I'm going to play that now. You see that? Really cool feature for an e-stop. I mean, I don't necessarily use an e-stop myself. If I have a problem, I'll just press the power button, but still, I mean, that is a commercial feature that you're just not going to find it on the other diode lasers. They're all cheap plastic, and this one is not. All right, let's cover the specs and pros and cons all at the same time. I'm going to refer to my notes here on the screen. It's going to make it easier for me and make sure that I remember everything. At my age, the memory is going. But anyway, we'll start off with the work area. It's slightly larger than most at 430 by 430 millimeters. So that gives you a pretty good size. You've got 4 6-watt laser diodes, which that makes this the most powerful diode laser on the market, coming in at 24 watts. Now the company is claiming 20 to 24 watts. When you collimate the 4 different laser diodes together, you're going to lose some wattage, so it may not be 24 watts, but it is 24 watts of source power. So maybe it's going to come in at, 22 or 23 watts, something like that. Who knows? They're calling it a 20-watt diode laser. I like that fact that they're not misadvertising it. So we're going to call it a 20-watt laser. I'm going to call it a 24-watt laser. The working speed on this laser is 24,800 millimeters per minute. Now you will get it set up as 6,000 millimeters per minute, and that's just because the company assumes that it's going to be used as a hobby laser. I did show you how you can reset that in the machine settings to 24,000. I set mine at 24,000. You can set it whatever you want, up to 24,800. And like you saw, there are some really incredible uses at 24,000 millimeters per minute. Just some amazing things you can do with this machine. The laser spot size is 0.08 by 0.06 with a movement precision of 0.01 millimeters. And it engraves with 0.05 layer spacing. All of that's verified. And actually the layer spacing is less than 0.05 after some testing. The company says that it will do 529 dpi resolution. I came up with 490. So who knows? Honest mistake there on my part. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're wrong. I don't know. Anything over 318 is more than you're going to need to use in the first place. It does have some amazing engraving capabilities. That there's no question about that, and that's straight out of the box without making any adjustments to it. It's got the fixed focus laser module with the kickstand laser, with the kickstand, so you can adjust the laser to the right height. Very simple to do. I like that big round knob on the back of it. You just loosen it up a little bit, it drops down, tighten it back up, and pull up the kickstand. You're ready to go. Focusing is a big issue for a lot of folks. The machine power on this is 120 watts. The laser module pulls 90 watts at full power. And like I said before, the optical output is somewhere between 20 and 24. The power supply, I believe, was 120 watt power supply, so you've got plenty of power there for the 90 watts for the module, as well as the power that you need for the air assist. And by the way, that air assist is from 0 to 30 liters per minute. So you don't need any more than 30 liters per minute on a diode laser, I promise you. I've done lots of testing with air assist, even with my California Air Tools, you know, checking PSI and running cut tests and everything else. You don't need any of that stuff. So the weight, it comes in at 8.78 kilograms, they say. That's 19.36 pounds. The overall size, not the cut area, the work area, but the overall size of this machine comes in at 644 by 680 by 168. So for us here in the States, that's 25.35 by 26.78 by 6.1 inches high. Some of the advantages on this machine is going to be the speed, the 24,800 millimeters per minute. I just love the fact that I can take a piece of, a few cent piece of basswood and turn it into something that looks like oak. Running at high speed and changing the look of that wood. I mean, this is such a fantastic discovery. You know, the hobby guy stain, we're calling it hobby guy laser stain is what we're calling this one, and where we're basically changing the color of the wood before we even engrave on it. I think it's, so there are a lot of uses at this speed, and even the other, the other photo engraving, you can be done at anywhere from 15 to about 22,000 millimeters per minute. Really well, so big time saver when it comes to that. Let's talk about the main board. The main board is built in to a metal cover, so there's a lot of people complain about having exposed main boards, and I completely understand that. They get dirty and gummed up. This board is completely enclosed in its own enclosure with a touch screen. If you like to use the touchscreen feature, I don't, but I like the fact that the main board is completely enclosed. I like the fact that the linear rails, the wheels, the belts on the inside are all semi-enclosed in the C channel or away from the debris field. Let's put it that way. Any debris that's settling down is going to settle on top. I think I like that. It has limit switches. It has the focus lever. You know, it has everything that everybody looks for in a laser engraver. Now, the one thing that goes on the negative column is what they call the flame retardant panoramic filter cover that can filter 97% of the ultraviolet rays. Now, it is a nice feature. It won't catch on fire like its competitor and melt. But you can't see where the laser is when you're framing or things like that if you don't work in absolute coordinates. So what I did was I just took it off. So I just took the whole piece off and exposed just the air assist. That's all I need. I've got it in an enclosure. It's got a filtered window. I use glasses anyway. You don't need it. Take it off. Throw it away. That whole square piece on the bottom comes off, as you can see in this picture, and you're left with just the metal air assist, and that's it. And I have to say, hey Nick, I love you, buddy, But what you said about it having a plastic air assist is absolutely wrong, my friend. This does have an aluminum air assist, so it is metal. And one of the really nice things that I found was after doing all of this testing on it, the very first day, I took it apart and I took off the air assist cover to clean the lens, and it was perfectly clean. So the design of the metal air assist cover, as well as the very small hole in it, keeps any dust and debris from going back in. Now, yesterday, I just took it off again, and I haven't taken it off since. It's been on the bench for weeks now running projects, and the lens is completely clean. Now, the competitor can't say that, and as a matter of fact, one of their biggest woes is people cracking lens covers on their machine, and that's because they just don't have the right airflow on it. So this airflow is perfect. The air assist works really well. I didn't clean the lens not one time. I cleaned the nozzle for the air assist a couple of times, just to regular maintenance to keep it from building up. But I never did have to clean the lens on this, even after all the testing was done. So that is a great plus. You can take off that whole square bottom cover and throw it away. All right, so you've probably been wondering all this time, what is it that I'm going to do? What rule am I going to break? My own rule. And here it is. I do not recommend lasers to anyone, diode lasers. The hobby lasers are basically, they're all pretty much the same. They all have their little quirks. They all have their little bugs. I am going to make an exception on this one. I'm going to call this one. Now, the company is not calling it this. They're calling it a diode laser, 20-watt diode laser. This is a 24-watt commercial duty, in my opinion, diode laser. Everything about it, the build quality, the connection quality, I didn't have a single issue. When I plugged that laser into my USB, it recognized it right off the bat. I put in my working dimensions and went straight to work with it. Never had a single hiccup from the build all the way until just moments ago when I did my last job with it. And I'm going to say that this is by far one of the best quality laser engravers, diode laser engravers that I've ever seen, and I will actually recommend this laser to people. So whether you want to do a hobby or whether you want to do a business, if you want to do a business, this one does not have all of the bugs in it that the major competition does. And I would say that this would be the only laser today that I would put into a working shop that's going to do production work, because it can do the fine engravings, it can do the cutting, it can do the photographs. I've done slate, I've done acrylic, I've done metals. Now with the metals, okay, so the company wants to push the fact that this can engrave in color on metal. And does it? Yeah, it does. So here's an example of what it does on titanium. And you can see that I've got the nice blues going on. And I just wound up, if you're wondering why I've only got one row in this test grid, it's just because it took too long. You know, it just takes too long to do this, and you have to adjust your focus. But with the right focus, you can get a wide range of colors. On titanium, you can get from white to blues to golds. On stainless, you can get from white to black, all of the grays. You can get the blues, you can get the golds, the yellows. Yes, you can get all that done, but it'd take forever. If you're going to work with metals, get yourself a fiber laser and do it with that instead and save a whole bunch of time. I just do not do metals with diode laser, period. That's just the way it is. One thing I will say about this is that on the stainless, I did not have to use any type of accelerant to get a nice black mark. So it does great all by itself. in perfect focus or just slightly defocused on stainless, putting a black mark on stainless. So yes, you can anneal stainless and you can anneal metals at a relatively fast speed with this laser. But I'm going to say that that's not my thing. And then, of course, there's the app. I'm not getting into the app in this video because I'm not an app person. I don't see the functionality in the app. I don't see the functionality for the touchpad. None of that really matters to me. So I'm just not going to include it in this video. Other people might. And, okay, good. Maybe you enjoy the app. I don't. When I look at this, I look at something that needs to be easy to use, fast, and dependable. And this fits all three of those categories. And I think the thing I like best about this entire machine is the fact that it just looks, feels, and it is built commercial duty as compared to others that are out there that are toys, you might say. No problems, and that is key because I can't tell you, I have a website that's dedicated to scheduling appointments for help for a fee, and I can't tell you how many people are scheduling appointments on that website, and you know who you are, with that famous machine that every day I'm helping people that are paying for support because they can't get support from the manufacturer. So don't get yourself into that position. I know there is a lot of glitzy advertising out there and pushing new products and things like that. But this thing is rock solid from beginning to end. And I will recommend this laser. I will break my own rule. So I've done tons of projects with this laser. I've done acrylic and I've done coasters. I did just a ton of coasters last week. I did 4 different jobs, 36 coasters in a row. I've done coasters. I've done a USA graphic that I want to hang up on my wall that I haven't finished yet out of wood. I've probably done about 120 projects on this machine, turning it on, off, connecting, reconnecting. Never had a single problem with anything with the machine. So if you want to go problem free, and I've just found out, I never really noticed their other machines before because I've never seen them before. They have a 5-watt version, they have a 10-watt version, and they have this 20-watt version. So I'll put a link down below. During the promotional period, you don't want to use my coupon code there. Just go ahead and buy it. Just buy it for whatever it is. Right now, it's $300 off for the next, 2 weeks or so. That's why I'm pushing this video out quickly without doing the app or a roller or anything like that. So I want to try and get this out as quick as I can with that $300 discount. To those of you that are interested in buying one now, you can save a bunch of money. So the link is down below. Click on Show More. There'll be a link where you can go directly to their website. You can get one right now that's on sale for the next 2 weeks for $300 off. If in the future, this is YouTube. This video is going to be here forever. In the future, you click on the link, use my coupon code in there, and you'll get a discount when you buy it as well. So anyway, I had a lot of fun doing this laser review. I spent a lot of time, and I've got a library made for it, by the way, that I've done photographs and added photographs to the library. I've done probably 70 or 80% of the materials that are in there, and I've tweaked those settings. I've got that up on my forum now for a free download. So you could get this machine, plug it up, install the software, go to my forum, get the cut library, get graphics, and get up and running in no time at all, problem free. And that's what I love so much about this laser. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.